Hope you're doing well. Coming to you live tonight. Just some quick ones. I had a conversation on my page today and got some people to ask some questions through the page, and I thought I'd go through and answer them one by one. Sorry about the hiccups. Just some things that they were wanting to know about as we move forwards, and I thought I'd give my thoughts and opinions on each subject as we go along. The first one they've asked about is bulk food and food shortages. So obviously there's been talk of shortages happening around the world with what's happening at the moment, and it's come up and it's been prevalent in Europe over the last couple of days. And my advice to people is, without being crazy about it, without going too nuts about it, you're probably best off to start stockpiling on some food, just tinned food, water, get some of those things and have them available. I think that's a really good idea for each person, just in case what has been talked about comes to fruition. It may not, but I would say to do that. Don't panic buy. Just go out there and stock up on canned food and some frozen food and spring water and things like that. I think that's not a bad idea anyway. And it's not really doomsday prepping, it's just being prepared in case there is food shortages around the world because of supply chains being broken down, whether it's done on purpose or whatever else. That's something I would definitely look at doing. And yeah, that's not a bad thing to start doing if you're out there and you're mindful of what's going on. People are asking about 5G, the 5G networks. They're continuing to be rolled out. We're actually getting a lot of TV ads and everything in Melbourne right now, which is really surprising. They're saying it's still being rolled out in a lot of areas now. 5G, the biggest concern for me, there's two things: the radiation that it's going to emit, the way that it works, because there's a lot more small cells in a lot more areas every 150 meters, but also just the full surveillance that we're going to have. So I don't think there's anything that's going to really stop it now. There's moratoriums and there's all kinds of things getting done, but I think it's moving ahead pretty quickly as well. So we're trying right now. We've got Leonie from one of my teams putting in a class action with Harrow lawyers in Sydney to try and get 5G stopped Australia-wide because of the lack of consultation. So we need to try and use the laws in our favour, and that's what we're trying to do right now. People ask me about the COVID vaccine and how to say no to it. Basically, you just got to say no. If it comes out and you're unsure about how safe it's going to be, what's in it, and how it's going to be administered or anything else, if there's anything you're unsure about, say no. Now, they may look to cut people from Centrelink and from other things for not taking a COVID vaccine. But if enough of us stand up, they'll have to listen. Because I think at the moment it's around about 70% plus that are saying no. When they did the last survey, they tried to wing it and make it look the other way around. If they try and mandate a COVID vaccine, people are going to say no. And once we show what's in it and how quickly it's been made and how little thought process has gone in, people will say no to the vaccine. So be aware of that as well. Now, some people were asking about Chapel Street. There was going to be Chapel Street Precinct was going to get involved with everyone and have like a march with their store owners opening up their stores and everything else. Now, the guy who was helping with that, he's actually running for council at the moment, so I don't think it would be a good look for him. And so they've sort of pulled the plug on doing anything like that at the moment. They're trying to negotiate and go through the political side of it to get everything opened up as soon as possible with a new COVID norm or whatever they call it. So we have to go along with what they're saying, and I think that makes sense as well. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. People are asking about Dan Andrews and why people idolize him so much. Now, the propaganda campaign over the last 2 years has been really subtle, but they've really put it out there to try and make him a likable person. And this is it, for me, it's very similar to what happened in Nazi Germany. Like, I have to say that they did a propaganda campaign where people started voting for people that they normally wouldn't have, and they started to see people as their savior for a time that they were in. And the same sort of things happened with him. They built his popularity up really quickly. The policies that were getting made in Victoria before this were actually quite good. They used to go through all the policymakers. We had Sanjeev on the other day talking about how they used to work through their policies, but that's just not happening anymore. So we need to look at new political parties for sure. And we need to realize that this is really inbred into people. The fear. So fear, it's the Stockholm syndrome, and it's the person who's pushing you down with the fear is the one that you end up going to and wanting help from. And it's something that's hard to take out of people because they've learned that this person who's instilling the fear in them is also the one that's going to give them the good things, so that they're thinking that he's their savior when he's really not. It's a hard one to break, but we're doing our best to break it. Now, people are talking about helping the elderly. Now, when it comes to helping the elderly, I say continue writing the letters, get your kids and family to write letters. This has been a really positive thing. And these letters are getting given to the elderly, and that's actually uplifting their spirit. We need to get their spirits and their vibrations lifted up as much as possible. The other thing I did today is ring some nursing homes and ask to speak to some of the elderly residents and just have a conversation with them over dinner or whatever else. And they're allowing us to do that as well. They're actually allowing iPads in front of them so we could chat to them while they're eating their dinner. A lot of them don't like talking during dinner time, but it worked. And there's a lot of them that have no one, so we need to really step up and help in that way. The other one was I put up a graph in regards to influenza, and a lot of people aren't aware, but the influenza, people with influenza at the start of the year, there was 20,000 cases between January and March. From April through to now, there's been just under 1,000 cases of flu. It's disappeared. And it doesn't disappear like that. So you've got to think, they used to be testing for flu, now they only test for COVID-19. And if that PCR test doesn't differentiate between all the different influenzas and flus and COVID, then it's going to show as COVID rather than showing as the flu. So the flu's not been eradicated. It's not been around for 30, 40 years and then just suddenly gone. It's being misdiagnosed, obviously. So we have to be aware of that. People were asking about the omnibus. So the omnibus is getting voted on in the next 2 weeks, I think it is. So we really need to push back to all those independents that we tried to get on our side when they were looking at the 6-month extension. We really have to focus on this and speak to them. And I think we have to do it from a place of love, understanding and care. Even if it was the people that voted for the 6-month extension, a lot of them are saying they're not going to vote for this omnibus how it's set out now because it's too much power to dictate it down. So we need to get out there and start campaigning again. And we need to do it from a really intelligent, educated voice and no anger. It doesn't matter if they've wronged us in the past. We need to be tactical and we need to say the right things now. That's my thoughts. The next one someone asked about was self-sustainability. I think self-sustainability is a really great idea. Start buying and putting in veggie patches in your backyard. Start doing, get clippings from friends and people and put them out there as well. So we need to start putting, sustainability into our life. Try to get rainwater, even though there's a lot of chemicals in it. If you can get it filtered, have that around your house as well. But set up your own gardens. We should really start looking at setting up small communities because that would be a really amazing way to live our lives moving forward anyway. So I think sustainability is a really big thing and we can look at doing things in a much better way. The next one someone asked about was the predictions for the rest of 2020. I've always said that I thought towards the end of September, their house of cards would start to fall. And I did think that into October, we're going to see a lot of revelations happening and a lot of things turning out how we want them to. We need to continue to have positive frames of mind. Now, people think that means doing nothing. No, it means we use positivity and love in everything we do and our interactions with every single person around us, spreading the word. We don't preach to the converted. We go out and talk to people in the street and our neighbors and everyone else. Every interaction we do via email and via calls, we do to help each other out. But we also spread knowledge and education through to the MPs and other people that maybe aren't awake to this because they're not all awake to exactly what's happening here and the agenda that's at play. So my predictions are this year's maybe going to be a little bit tough through October, November, because if they're trying to take these people out of power, they're going to push back as hard as they can. But if we come without fear, if we come with knowledge, education, and no fear, be a warrior, the rest of the year will work out really well. I always say to people, and I wanted to talk about this, honor what you're feeling. So if you are feeling fear, sadness, whatever else, honor it. Allow it to flow through your body. And remember that you don't want to set out a reflection of this into the world because then it's going to affect everyone as well. Honor the feelings, know what they are, and then move forwards with light and positivity and love. And you will change the narrative because it's all in your hands. Hopefully that all helps a little bit. I think we're going to be okay. Do start stocking up a little bit just in case they do push back very hard at the end. But we're going to be okay. And keep moving from a place of understanding and keep moving from a place of knowledge. And, if it gets to a tipping point where enough people are awake, we do whatever we need to do. But that's at a later stage. And right now, we just got to do the right things. And what we're going to see is if he tries to push these things through, at some stage, the police force, the ADF, other people are going to say that's too much power for one person and they'll push back. That's where the house of cards falls down. So we're holding ground right now. Hopefully that all makes sense. I'm going to get going. I'm going to do another live now. And we can do this together. We're the tribe's spoken, and it's time for us to do as much as we possibly can together. Okay, guys. Peace.